practices. Some of them will and some of them won't, but it's a decision that we made, that we wanted to be able to provide that.
And I think these are definitely things that make you stand apart. I mean, whether or not, the big guys are using it or whatever, the point that you've thought all of these things out and you've made a conscious decision to invest in what I imagine are very expensive pieces of technology to provide a better service for people. I mean, that shows a lot of your values as a brand and as a business right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have done it without spending the same amount of money, or making the same sort of investment. There are things that we could just have dropped off the wish list and said, well, we don't really need that. I can test a pair of eyes without that, so let's just leave that. And I'll not lie that when it came to lockdown, there were maybe moments where I thought, oh, did I make the wrong decision here? Because yes, we've got these investments and actually now it's all looking very difficult. My hope now is, when people coming out of this are looking for somewhere to go, that having this extra technology would maybe give us the edge over somebody else, that they'll say, well, actually, they've got that. I'm going to go there. They're local, they're small, they're going to look after me. I know about their business, then they'll maybe come to us. It's difficult though. I think it's difficult to break habits. So I think sometimes people are used to going somewhere. People have to generally be unhappy with the service that they're getting somewhere to move. And I think certainly within healthcare, they always feel, it's such a hassle to go somewhere else. So I think their current provider has to sort of annoy them to the extent that they're actively looking. And that's difficult, and that just means it's slower for us to build up our patient base. But word of mouth, we'll get there.
Well, and you might, if you put these things front and center, the fact that you are providing this high level of service and that you do have this equipment that, I mean, I've never had my eyes tested with anything like that before. So there might be a lot of people out there who don't know that something like that exists. And, by doing what you're doing, and, whether it's social media or your website, or whether you're doing paid marketing or whatever you're doing, I think getting that message out there that actually we have the most up-to-date technology, we offer a level of service that's up here, that will make you stand apart. And it might be enough to convince some people to try something new.
Yeah. Yep. That's certainly the hope. I think it's one of the difficulties that we have at the moment, or opticians have, not us uniquely, is trying to balance what will be an eye exam in this, sort of new situation that we have. So, in addition to wearing all our PPE and things, you've got to limit that sort of close contact with people. Now, I will freely admit that I'm a chatterbox and I like to get people in the test room and sit and, build up a rapport with them. And I like that kind of, taking time. I'm not going to be able to do that. What we'll probably do is do part of the examination by phone the day before, ask them all the questions that I need to know in advance, so that when they're in the test room, I can, do the testing that I need without having to find that information. But certainly having the technology, you can sit them behind a machine, take some images, take some scans, and then, done. And it gives you a lot of information in a small amount of time. So I'm hopeful that it will be very beneficial for us.
So what kind of things have you done then? Like, it sounds like you've already thought all of this through and you've already got the processes kind of in place of what you'll have to do differently. So was this a matter of brainstorming? Was there a ton of research? Like, how did you kind of come up with this adapted process?
Well, there's a lot of guidance, so professional guidance within optometry. So, it's been sort of coming out from various different sources over a while, and sometimes you just have to take a measured view across the board and sort of say, well, what's likely. Evelyn and I went to the shop a couple of weeks ago. We'd been having long conversations about what we needed to do, so we had some really lovely upholstered chairs in our waiting area. Upholstered chairs are difficult to keep clean, so we've had to remove them, and we've replaced our chairs with chairs that can be wiped clean, so we can easily clean down everything. And they look, do you know what? it's not as nice, but it's keeping it safe, and that's what's important. And rearranging the test room and everything. And we just basically walked through the practice and said, right, what do we need to do? We need hand sanitizing station at the door. We need a way to sterilize our frames whenever anybody's tried a frame on. So we bought a UV sterilizer, so any frames that go on a face get put to the side and then put in a sterilizer afterwards to kill anything. And we just need every surface wipe cleanable, everything. We need to mark out the floor for your 2 meters distance. So just trying to almost walk through the patient kind of journey, as they attend, they come to the front door, what's the first thing they do, what are we going to do, and how are we going to change that to make it still welcoming, still warm, still professional, but as safe as possible for everybody. So those are the kind of things that we're working on. And we'll be opening, as I say, in just after the 29th. So,
and how do you feel about it? Do you feel quite excited, or are you feeling a bit nervous?
I think it's a mix of emotions. So what's been really difficult in these last few months, clinically speaking, is I've had to rely on what a patient's telling me, and also what I can see on a video or a phone or a photograph. And all I've wanted to do is get my hands on that person and have a really good look, stick them behind the microscope and do what I need to do and check this and check that and satisfy myself that there isn't, X problem or Y problem. And that's been very difficult. So I am excited in that I'm going to actually have patients in front of me again, and I can do my workup. But it is going to be different to the way it was before. So there are some procedures and things that we're just going to have to shorten or remove. And it's very much taking an eye examination from, this big battery of tests to slimming it down to what do you really need to do to give yourself the answers. And that's fine. That, we'll find our way, but it is just trying to find that way to work it best. But yeah, so I'm excited that I get people again. I suppose I'm nervous as to how it's going to go, because I think in the initial stage it's going to be for emergency and essential care. So literally everybody that comes in is going to be having a problem of some sort. So, essential care could be like, I've broken my glasses and I really need a new pair of glasses. So there could be a lot of that, or I'm just not seeing as well. So it's not all emergency, there could be something terrible here. But there's going to be very few people saying, oh, it's just time for my eye test. We just thought I'd come along and see you. Those people are not going to exist. So it's going to be quite challenging mentally and, for my abilities to, day after day after day of lots of complex stuff. But that's good. I do kind of enjoy it, to be honest. I do get a lot of satisfaction out of finding something and getting the patient where they need to be, whether that's a hospital referral or what. I never take joy in the fact that somebody has a retinal detachment, but I do take satisfaction out of finding it and getting it treated properly, because the alternative is much worse. So yeah, it's a mix of emotions, I think.
And I think the thing that, I don't know if worried is the right word, but I guess the thing that I'm feeling a little bit anxious about is that we're putting these plans in place to adapt the way that we work for the next stage, but then we're going to move through that stage and we're going to have to adapt again. So in a way it's good because it's keeping us on our toes, it's making us think creatively, it's making sure that we're on top of all the most recent and relevant information in our industries. But it's also quite exhausting because it's going to be this process for the next, I don't want to speculate how long.
I'm not sure, Rhiannon, that it will ever truly go back to, well, I don't think I will ever practice the way I practiced 6 months ago again. I don't think I'm not sure that I used to practice in my own clothes. I would dress smartly. You would, but you would be very business dressed. We're moving to scrubs and PPE, and I think actually that's probably quite a good move. And I'm not upset if that's what happens in the future, and that we, are always dressed in that sort of clinical way. But I think this will have impacts on everybody's business for a long time. And I think there will be aspects of eye care that will forever be changed, and a lot of it will be the hospitals will struggle. We're already, waiting lists in hospitals are already high. Everybody knows waiting lists exist, but their optometry, certainly within Scotland, because optometry works at a higher level in Scotland, we've, you know, over 10 years ago, kind of put extra training and things in place. So we're very well placed to do a lot of what happens at the hospital. So, and I think this is pushing that will push that agenda. And I think the hospitals will now have this backlog to deal with. Now, they will have to concentrate on surgery and all the things that they need to do. But those patients, for example, those patients who have glaucoma, but, you know, their glaucoma is quite stable, they're on medication, and they're going to the hospital regularly to get that checked, I suspect they'll come to us for that now. And I think there will be a move towards more of that. So I suspect this will change our business forever in some ways.
It's amazing how that's happened, because I think, well, and maybe this was, you know, naivety on my part, but I think when this all started, I very much looked at it as, okay, I'm not going to be able to work for a while, and then I'll be able to work for a while, but it might be different, and then things will go back to normal. But I think you're right in every industry. I mean, in the wedding industry, a lot of people are talking about how very large gatherings might not go ahead. You know, with newborn photography, I do quite a hands-off lifestyle approach, so I don't manipulate or put babies into poses, but I know a lot of photographers who do that kind of very traditional studio style where they're actually handling the baby quite a lot. And, you know, that's what they're saying now too, like, how on earth are we going to do our style of work? Because it's going to have to be different. And I think you're right. No matter what industry you're in, your approach to the way that you work is going to change. There's going to be new considerations. And I mean, it sounds like for you, it might completely change your whole industry in terms of the way that the care is divided.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't make a judgment as to whether it was a good or a bad thing. I mean, I'm very interested in the medical aspects of what I do. And it's, you know, it kind of excites me. I like to get involved. I don't ever want to be somebody who just, you know, test your eyes, there's a pair of glasses, test your eyes, there's a pair of glasses. You know, I like that kind of clinical aspect of it, has always interested me. So, yeah, I think it depends whether people embrace it, and you know, and there'll be a range, there'll be a variety of different responses to it. But I suspect that there'll be some long running changes because of it. And probably things, you know, if we look back, I think we may look back and say, well, those things should have been happening anyway.
Well, you might be right. I think there's a lot of things that we maybe didn't ever think about before that were an issue because we didn't have a virus at this level of concern. But you're right. It's definitely caused a lot of, well, pretty much everyone to stop and reevaluate what they do, and is that safe, and is that keeping everybody's health and safety, you know, top of mind. So it's maybe not the worst thing to have that opportunity to reevaluate.
Yeah, I know it is. It's a funny one. It's I mean, I think as a business, as an industry, not as a business, as an industry, optometry is very hygiene focused, because we have to be, you know, we're touching people's eyes and faces and things. So hand washing and all of these things are kind of top of our agenda, and wash hands, you know, between every patient. But, you know, perhaps, you know, PPE and all of these things, maybe we should have been wearing it. The one thing I do struggle about is gloves. Handling contact lenses with a pair of gloves on is going to be quite difficult, but we'll find a way. Yeah. But yeah, so I think there will be things that will change, and there'll be things that will change for the better, and there'll be things that will be difficult to get used to, but ultimately we'll find a way. We kind of have to. I just wonder if we get into a situation where numbers start to rise again, you know, if we get it right, and I'm specifically talking about optometry here, you know, if we get it right in the way that we look after patients and the numbers and the distancing and all of these kind of things, then, you know, we may be able to continue to provide that service. My hope is that we can continue to provide some sort of service even if things, you know, start to go up, because I think people have struggled for a few months. I was speaking to, I do a thing on Radio Scotland where they do a phone in and ask the optometrist phone in, and there was a gentleman phoned in about his mum, and she has